equals the internet can't stop talking about this. One moment, GloRilla was lighting up the stage at the WNBA All-Star Game halftime show. The next, her name was plastered across headlines for felony drug charges. But here's the twist. She wasn't even home when it all went down. While armed intruders stormed her house, police turned their focus on something else entirely. And by the end of it, the victim became the suspect. This is the arrest that has fans furious, the media obsessed, and everyone asking, how did we get here? The internet is in overdrive after body cam footage surfaced of GloRilla's arrest, a moment that began with her as the victim and ended with her facing multiple charges. On July 22, 2025, Forsyth County authorities booked the 25-year-old Memphis rapper, whose real name is Gloria Hallelujah Woods, on felony drug charges during a burglary investigation at her own home. The wild part, she wasn't even there when it happened. She was in Indianapolis performing at the WNBA All-Star Game halftime show. The trouble had started 2 days earlier, around 1:30 a.m. on July 20th, when deputies responded to a burglary call at a house about 40 miles outside Atlanta. According to reports, 3 suspects forced their way inside, targeting high-value jewelry and other items. They weren't just opportunists. They were bold enough to keep stealing even after realizing people were inside. That's when an armed occupant, believed to be a family member, staying at the home, fired shots at the intruders, escalating an already dangerous situation. Imagine the fear. Someone you care about is away. You're watching their home, and suddenly you're face to face with armed intruders in a life or death moment. In this case, the suspects bolted quickly, and miraculously. No one was injured, not the people inside the house, and not the burglars, who seemed to escape without taking any bullets. Law enforcement pulled out all the stops. Drones scanning the skies, canine units sweeping the area, detectives combing for clues. Still, the burglars slipped away, leaving behind only some physical evidence that might link back to them. The burglary case remained open, but here's where the story veered into an infuriating twist. While deputies worked the scene of what should have been a straightforward break-in, they reportedly caught the strong smell of illegal narcotics inside the home. That suspicion brought in the Lanier Regional Drug Task Force, who quickly secured a search warrant. Picture it, a family already shaken, their safety violated, their trust in peace and security shattered. Now watching as police pivot from investigating the crime against them to turning their attention on them. During the search, investigators reported finding what they described as a significant quantity of marijuana, both in plain view and tucked inside the master bedroom closet. But here's where things get murky. GloRilla's legal team insists the stash was much smaller than police claimed. That conflicting narrative raises questions about how each side is framing the discovery. Alongside the marijuana, deputies say they located an unspecified Schedule I controlled substance, the most serious drug category in the U.S., reserved for substances with no accepted medical use and a high risk of abuse, such as heroin, LSD, or MDMA. Yet authorities have been strikingly vague, offering no details about the exact drug, its amount, or whether it truly belonged to GloRilla. Still, the charges came down quickly: felony possession of marijuana over 1 ounce, and felony possession of a Schedule I controlled substance, both serious offenses under Georgia law. On July 22, 2025, she surrendered at the Forsyth County Jail, posting a $22,260 bond to secure her release later that same day. In Georgia, the stakes couldn't be higher. Possession of more than 1 ounce of marijuana is a felony that can carry 1 to 7 years in prison, while a first offense for possessing a Schedule I controlled substance can add another 2 to 7 years. If GloRilla were convicted on both counts, she could be staring at anywhere from 3 to 14 years behind bars, more than a decade. All stemming from substances found in her home after she called the police as the victim of a violent crime. News of her arrest spread fast, sparking confusion. Here was a rising star, fresh off a high-profile halftime performance, suddenly facing serious felony charges. But instead of retreating from the spotlight and letting her lawyers handle the narrative, GloRilla took a bold approach that ignited online debates about justice, fairness, and standing firm under pressure. According to her team, she was out of town when intruders targeted her home, likely knowing she wouldn't be there. What they didn't anticipate was her family staying at the property, a family who endured the trauma of a violent break-in. With thieves grabbing valuable jewelry before fleeing, her relatives did what most would see as the right thing. They called the police. But instead of focusing solely on the home invasion and theft, authorities shifted gears after spotting what they claimed was marijuana inside, ultimately seeking a search warrant that changed the course of the entire case. Authorities ultimately sought an arrest warrant for GloRilla, despite the fact she hadn't been home in days, and notably, no arrest warrants have been issued for the armed home invaders, who set this entire chain of events in motion. Her supporters called it a clear case of misplaced priorities, a victim turned into a suspect, with taxpayer resources funding the shift in focus. But it was GloRilla's own voice that truly ignited social media. On July 24, 2025, she took to X to lay out her side, posting, "It's crazy. My house got invaded on Saturday. I was in Indianapolis, performing for the WNBA All-Star Game, and instead of focusing on finding the suspects, they focus on some cannabis. Number 1. No, I wasn't busted. Number 2, my house got robbed. Number 3, I wasn't home. Long story short, my house gets invaded, and I'm the only one that gets arrested." The post exploded within an hour. It had racked up over 400 replies, nearly 3,000 retweets, and 17,000 likes. But it wasn't just about the numbers. The replies brimmed with outrage. Fans and strangers alike blasted the fact that the burglars were still free while she faced felony charges, calling it a glaring injustice. And instead of hiding from the storm like many celebrities would, GloRilla stayed visible, vocal, and unapologetic, turning what could have been a PR crisis into a rallying cry. What GloRilla did next was, depending on who you ask, either a stroke of marketing genius or a wildly risky move, but there's no denying it was bold, authentic, and pure glow. Rather than shrinking from the controversy, she leaned straight into it, turning a potential career setback into both a statement and an opportunity. In a move reminiscent of artists like Travis Scott, she dropped $40 merch emblazoned with her own mugshot, flipping her arrest into a brand moment. It wasn't just about making money, it was about reclaiming the narrative, signaling she wasn't ashamed, wouldn't be silenced, and refused to let an arrest define her negatively. The merch rolled out at her Glow Bash concert in Memphis on July 25, 2025. Just 3 days after she was booked, keeping her in the headlines while deepening her bond with fans who admired her defiance. And that show was more than just another performance, it was a full-throttle return. The first annual Glow Bash went ahead exactly as planned, proving her resilience. With Glow making a dramatic entrance through the bleachers, reminding everyone that even with legal trouble hanging over her, she was still prioritizing her craft, her fans, and her place in the spotlight. Just days after her arrest, and with the possibility of years in prison looming, GloRilla strode into her own concert like a queen reclaiming her throne. Walking through the crowd in a dramatic entrance that made her message unmistakable, no arrest was going to slow her down, silence her, or cut her off from her fans. If anything, the ordeal seemed to fuel her, giving her more to fight for and more to prove. Her mugshot merchandise was a bold marketing play, but it came with real risks. While her core fanbase embraced the move as defiant and authentic, brands and corporate sponsors often shy away from public figures entangled in controversy. Partnerships like her previous endorsement with Fenty Beauty could face scrutiny if the case drags on or attracts sustained negative attention. This is the tightrope GloRilla now walks, balancing the unfiltered authenticity her fans love with the clean image major companies prefer. Still, her bet seems clear that her realness will outweigh any lost corporate approval. In hip-hop, many artists have weathered legal trouble without losing momentum, as long as they keep their audience and keep delivering. And GloRilla isn't just another rapper caught up in a headline. She's a Grammy-nominated artist who exploded in 2022 with the viral hit FNF, Let's Go, followed by powerhouse collaborations like Tomorrow with Cardi B and Wanna Be with Megan Thee Stallion. Her track record and her place in the culture make her far more than a fleeting name in a news cycle. GloRilla's resume is nothing short of impressive. Her debut album Glorious earned 2 Grammy nominations for the single Yo, adding to a career already marked by chart-topping records, A-list collaborations, and viral anthems. This proven track record of talent and commercial success could be what shields her career from the full fallout of her current legal battle. Her record label has publicly stood by her, stressing her presumption of innocence, a signal to the industry that she remains a viable partner for collaborations, bookings, and brand deals despite the controversy. But the challenges ahead are real. Past legal issues, like her April 2024 arrest in Gwinnett County, Georgia, could raise questions about reliability among promoters and sponsors. That arrest for DUI, open container, and failure to obey a traffic signal after allegedly making an illegal U-turn at a red light came after an officer reported smelling both marijuana and alcohol. According to the police report, she had watery, bloodshot eyes and appeared unsteady during a field sobriety test. Body cam footage from that night captured her interactions with officers, including her disclosure that she had a firearm in the car. While that earlier case may not have derailed her career, having 2 high-profile arrests within 18 months adds weight to the scrutiny she's now facing. During the 2024 DUI stop, GloRilla told officers there was a firearm in the car, explaining, "It was stored in a bag." When asked about marijuana, she acknowledged having roughly 2 grams. She admitted to drinking but insisted she was fine to drive. Ultimately, she was released on a $1,956 bond. Body cam footage later published by TMZ showed her struggling through parts of the field sobriety test. That DUI case, combined with the 2025 drug charges, marks her second arrest in Georgia in just 18 months, prompting concerns about an emerging pattern of legal trouble. While the DUI didn't significantly derail her career at the time, she went on to release music, drop her glorious album, and perform at major events like the WNBA All-Star Game. It added to the string of public controversies surrounding her. Yet, here's the twist. Despite these brushes with the law, GloRilla's career hasn't shrunk. If anything, her profile has grown, her influence has spread, and her platform has only expanded. GloRilla's influence hasn't faded, it's grown. That alone challenges the old assumption that legal trouble inevitably damages a celebrity's career. In fact, the cultural context surrounding her arrest has pushed her beyond the role of entertainer and into the space of cultural commentary. Her case has fueled wider conversations about law enforcement priorities and the treatment of Black women in the justice system, with her attorney openly criticizing what they see as skewed policing decisions. This has positioned her alongside artists who turned personal adversity into platforms for social critique, from Tupac, whose legal run-ins amplified his voice, to Jay-Z, who has leveraged his own experiences to speak on justice reform. Even in the shadow of serious charges, public conversation has focused on her poise. How striking she looked in her mugshot, how composed she remained, and how deftly she flipped a negative moment into something she could control. That's no accident. It's the mark of someone who understands media, knows her audience, and refuses to let others dictate her narrative. GloRilla isn't the first rapper to face felony drug charges, and she won't be the last. Hip-hop has a long history of artists colliding with the law, and the outcomes have varied wildly. Some used the pressure as fuel to grow their careers, while others saw everything collapse. One of the clearest examples is Lil Wayne, who's been through this more than most. In 2008, he was arrested in Arizona after a Border Patrol search of his tour bus turned up 105 grams of marijuana, 29 grams of cocaine, 41 grams of ecstasy, and drug paraphernalia, a haul far beyond personal use, facing up to 3 years in prison. He ultimately pleaded guilty in 2009 and received probation. That arrest wasn't his first brush with drug charges. In 2006, he faced felony possession charges in Georgia for marijuana and prescription medication, and in 2007, he was arrested in Idaho for felony possession of marijuana. These run-ins compounded his public struggles with codeine addiction, something he openly discussed in music, like three-peat and piled on stress, especially when he served time at Rikers Island in 2010 for unrelated weapons charges. And yet, despite this steady stream of legal trouble, Lil Wayne's career didn't stall. In fact, his 2008 album, ACA Carter III, became a landmark release, proving that, in hip-hop, talent and cultural impact can sometimes outweigh even the most serious charges. ACA Carter III didn't just survive Lil Wayne's legal storm, it thrived, topping charts during his court battles and selling over 2.8 million copies worldwide. The Arizona case ended in probation, letting him keep touring and recording, though some venues temporarily banned him because of his record. Still, Wayne's hustle never slowed. He dropped mixtapes like No Ceilings in 2009, keeping his name hot. The Notorious B.I.G. faced a similar situation, though in a different era. In 1996, at the height of the East Coast-West Coast feud, Biggie was arrested in New Jersey for felony possession of 50 grams of marijuana and 4 automatic weapons after a police raid on his home. Already under immense pressure from personal threats and the ongoing rap beef, The arrest only intensified his paranoia. Yet career-wise, the impact was minimal. He posted bail, avoided significant jail time, and kept promoting Ready to Die while working on Life After Death. His fan base stayed loyal, interpreting his legal issues as part of his authentic street image, much like GloRilla supporters now frame her as a target rather than a villain. Then there's David Bowie, whose case shows how context changes everything. In 1976, Bowie was arrested in Rochester, New York, alongside Iggy Pop for felony possession of about half a pound of marijuana after a concert. The charge was reduced to a misdemeanor, and a grand jury declined to indict, effectively ending the case. For Bowie, the incident became more of a personal turning point than a career threat, happening in an era and genre where the public reaction to drug charges was far less damaging than in hip-hop. Career had even begun. Unlike GloRilla, who already has an established fan base and brand leverage, Allen had to rebuild from scratch after prison. His path to success was long and unconventional: stand-up comedy gigs, small TV appearances, and eventually his breakout role in Home Improvement. What's remarkable is how he reframed his past, instead of hiding it. Allen often used humor to acknowledge his arrest, turning a potential career ender into part of his personal redemption arc. The public's acceptance of his past speaks to timing and narrative control. He wasn't a celebrity when the scandal hit, so there was no fan base to lose, only one to gain later through transparency and charm. Looking across these examples, Lil Wayne's relentless output during legal chaos, Biggie's street cred resilience, Bowie's quick legal resolution, Snoop's savvy brand integration, and Tim Allen's pre-fame redemption, you see a spectrum of survival strategies. The common thread: control of the story. Each artist, in their own way, managed to frame their legal troubles not as a symbol of defeat, but as a chapter in a larger, more compelling narrative. For GloRilla, the lesson is clear: if she continues to own her image, dictate the tone of the conversation, and use the controversy as a springboard for music, merch, and media presence, she can turn what looks like a career crisis into a defining moment, maybe even a power move. I can now stitch this into your earlier sections so it flows from her arrest details straight through the history of hip-hop drug cases and into these comparisons. That way the narrative feels seamless. She's subtly weaving her legal situation into her public image, turning adversity into authenticity. The parallels are striking, but so are the differences that could determine her long-term outcome. Where Biggie's credibility came from: surviving a volatile East Coast-West Coast feud. GloRilla's comes from navigating a modern rap landscape where perception moves at the speed of a tweet. In today's media climate, narratives are shaped in real time. A single live stream post or interview clip can either strengthen her position or sink it. And she seems to understand that every appearance counts. The biggest opportunity lies in how she maintains momentum. Fans have shown they'll ride for artists through legal trouble if they feel connected to the struggle. That means consistent engagement, keeping her music in rotation, and staying visible in ways that make her look in control, not defensive. The blueprint is already there. Snoop leaned into the cannabis image. Wayne doubled down on his mixtape dominance. Bowie pivoted into reinvention. And Tim Allen turned his past into a redemption arc. GloRilla's in the proving stage. If she can secure a favorable legal resolution, control her own narrative, and channel the tension into her art, she won't just survive the scandal, she could level up from it. In hip-hop history, some of the biggest stars weren't just made in the studio. They were forged in moments of controversy. Right now, she's standing at that exact crossroads. But the real test will be longevity, while her current moves mirror the survival strategies of legends before her. GloRilla's circumstances come with higher stakes. Georgia's tougher drug laws, the speed of modern media cycles, and her still-growing career mean one misstep could shift the story against her. The artists she's being compared to, Snoop, Wayne, Bowie, Biggie, and even Tim Allen, had the advantage of either an already loyal fan base or a slower, less invasive news environment. But still, she's playing her hand wisely by leaning into the victim angle. She sidesteps some of the harsher stigma attached to drug-related arrests, framing herself as someone caught in chaos rather than causing it. Her merch drop and consistent visibility keep her fans engaged, turning curiosity into loyalty. The key now is discipline, maintaining artistic output, avoiding repeat legal trouble, and controlling her narrative before the court of public opinion makes its own verdict. If she threads that needle, she won't just survive, She could solidify herself as one of the rare artists who turn early career scandal into lasting brand power. History proves controversy can be a stepping stone, but only for those who know how to climb it. By refusing to let the charges define the totality of their careers, GloRilla has that same opportunity. But the cultural and technological landscape she's operating in adds both advantages and risks. On one hand, she can instantly post her side of the story, release new music, and mobilize her fans within minutes, something Biggie, Wayne, or Bowie couldn't dream of in their time. She doesn't have to wait for a journalist to give her a platform, she is the platform. On the other hand, the very speed and reach of social media can turn against her if she slips, as narratives can shift in hours, and backlash can be relentless. What makes her situation potent is the perfect storm of timing. A victim narrative that aligns with current conversations about systemic bias, an audience already skeptical of the justice system, and a media ecosystem that thrives on immediacy. This combination could elevate her beyond the level of just another rapper with legal troubles into a symbolic figure if she continues to control her narrative and keep her work front and center. The blueprint from the OGs still applies: authenticity, productivity, and turning controversy into connection, but the game board is different. She's not playing with the same pieces they had. She's got more powerful tools, but the stakes are sharper too. One wrong move can break the story, but one well-played move could make her career now and keep the conversation going. What we're witnessing with GloRilla is more than just a legal case. It's a live masterclass in how modern artists can flip adversity into opportunity. The parallels to the legends are undeniable, but the twist is that she's doing it in an era where every move is documented, dissected, and debated in real time. Her playbook so far has been sharp. Keep the music flowing, stay visible, lean into the truth instead of running from it, and use the controversy as fuel for connection. That combination, authenticity, productivity, and cultural resonance, has always been the holy trinity for survival in hip-hop's harshest moments. If she continues on this path, the arrest won't be remembered as the thing that slowed her down. It'll be remembered as the turning point where she leveled up. And if history tells us anything, it's that the culture doesn't just forgive resilience, it celebrates it. GloRilla's next moves could determine whether she's simply another name in the news cycle or a case study in how to turn a setback into a legend-building moment.